Hey everybody, it's that podcast that you listen to a lot, or maybe this is the first time you've ever watched it. Who knows? It's the So That Happened podcast. I'm joined by these two lovely people who I tolerate. Who are you? What are your names? I am Cody. I am the one with the non-Prussian hat.
I'm Emperor Tiger Star, and I'm the one with the Prussian hat and the maps and all that stuff.
It's crazy.
I'm Tristan from Step Back History, stepbackhistory.com, and I'm the one with two Prussian hats.
Oh boy.
Stacked on top of each other.
And something fantastic, everybody. It's like Christmas morning. I was always wondering why, whenever we were talking and having like the audio always seemed good for us. And people in the comments would say, "Oh, it's too quiet. We can't hear you." And I thought, "Wait, what is this? This doesn't seem right." Because for us, it's like we could hear each other perfectly. Turns out Discord had my settings down to like 20%. And I was like, "Oh, how long has this been?" So I moved them up to 100%. So hopefully you guys can now hear Tiger Star and Tristan in THX quality audio.
I really hope so.
Normies? Okay. So
that took me like 2 seconds before I figured out what the heck you guys were doing.
I thought that was funny.
That's great. It's podcast gold.
It is podcast gold. It's a pizza pie. Fantastic. Anyway,
You're like in an Italy mood today.
Ever since that Mussolini video, I have been in an Italy mood. It is like, I don't know, just the fact, spaghetti, linguine, it's fun sounding
spaghetti.
food. Spaghetti.
Well, I do have to say, I think I researched a video this week, and it's going to come out in several weeks, but it also had to do with Italy, but one of Italy's peak dick moments, so I don't know. I'm doing a video that's a brief history of Ethiopia.
Okay, this is the thing. I've researched.
I know you have a history with Ethiopia. You've probably done some research for it.
Yeah, this was the thing. I actually bought a huge audiobook. It wasn't huge in terms of audiobooks. It was probably like 12, 14 hours long, but it was a whole history of Ethiopia. And I'm normally really good with history. I hit my mic. I'm normally really good with history and things in names and places I can just stick them in my head, and it's a really natural thing I can do, not to brag. But for Ethiopia, it was like so many names were just coming and going, and events and everything. It was like it just washed over me. I just couldn't retain any information about Ethiopia. It wasn't like the history was boring, don't get me wrong. It was just, it's something about it. I just couldn't.
I think Ethiopian history is like, it's not so much the boring, it's the fact that it's such the opposite of boring. Like, there seems to have not been a point in Ethiopian history where everything was normal and okay.
Yeah.
And it's basically been completely reinventing itself about every 4 decades since 1850s. So it's quite impressive, because like it's a country that's like so ancient, like unbelievably ancient, like pre-human ancient. But
even
like,
the empire itself started like 1,000 years ago.
I mean,
something like the 9th century, 8th century, something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, if the origin of your country begins with humans evolved from, like, you're pretty you're pretty ancient.
Well,
you see that valley? That's where
when you're emperor,
that's
when
where
you're
the
like
ancestors of people were.
When your imperial dynasty is beginning with King Solomon and Queen Sheba, you know that you're an old country.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ethiopia is fascinating for me because it was always like, it seemed like that country that even in Europe was mythical, and it was that Europe had a
Prester
myth.
John.
Yeah, Europe had a myth that there was a Christian king in Africa, and there's a whole myth around it that if you went to him, he had like a bunch of different stuff, and it'd be like I think there was a fountain of youth and stuff like that. But he was like a Christian missionary, or he was a Christian king, and turns out Ethiopia was like the real life Prester John, and they just kind of never were really in that big of contact with Europe because the Sahara is a thing. But Ethiopia, I
Well,
find.
there's more to that. They used to be really big in the Mediterranean trade, but then there was a Persian invasion of the Southern Arabian Peninsula, and then there was a second invasion by the Arabs, and then the Arabs converted to Islam maybe like 100 years after that, and that taking over that side of the Red Sea cut off Ethiopia's access to the Mediterranean, and they kind of disappeared and turned into a myth.
Oh boy. Yeah, so it's like yeah, and um what's weird?
What's
the
that?
the analytics, it says the stream's fine, but it says 0 people are watching the stream. I don't know what's happening.
I mean, on the YouTube page, it says 938 people are watching.
Oh, okay. It's just the weird thing with my it's just the weird thing with my thing then. Thank you, YouTube, for such a quality live streaming server. Actually, the live stream is pretty good. I'm not gonna make that joke. It's pretty good, except for the fact that I can't tell how many people are watching, but that's okay. Speaking of people watching, thank you, Mateus, Professor Mateus Barbado. I'm sorry I butchered your
There's
name.
also somebody who gave us 50 kroners earlier.
Yeah, he's a Brazilian history teacher, and he said that he loves me and Tiger Star's work. So,
oh no, it's expired. There was somebody who gave 50 Norwegian kroners.
How much? Oh, that's what the Noke is. Okay.
Yeah,
anyway,
that's better.
Yeah,
Anyway,
that's like $8.50, I think.
Thank you, Mateus, for your contribution, and everybody else we're gonna thank at the end of the stream. So if we just don't want to interrupt the conversation like I'm doing right now. Anyway,
Plus,
yeah,
we answer questions at the end, so
yeah,
send the super chats.
Definitely. Anyway, Ethiopia.
Also, Ethiopian food is fucking awesome.
I've never had it. I actually, I'm kind of genuinely interested in trying it, and
it's pretty sweet. It's like all sorts. It's like the tastiest goop imaginable, and then they'll put it all on top of this big plate that's made out of like this really spongy soda bread thing, and you literally just grab chunks of soda bread, grab scraps of goo, and you eat it, and it's amazing.
You know what's really good? This is kind of off topic, but we'll go back to Ethiopia. Persian food. I had a friend from Iran, and his mom used to make these like cookie things, and I don't know what they were called, but I remember they were like some Iranian dish, and they were like the greatest cookies ever. And I would always pester him. I'd be like, hey, can I have more of those? And he was like, no, I've just brought them in for class. I was like, hey, no, give them to me. I know you're hiding them.
Do you mean rice cookies?
No, they weren't rice cookies. They had like flour on them. I forgot what they were called. But
kuluche or koluche?
Maybe, I don't.
We can get to the bottom of this. We can solve. This will be like the people who like solve the 10-year mystery or something. Like,
if anybody knows
them.
a Persian cookie with flour on it, let us know. But yeah, Ethiopia. I think just the fact that they're like one of the first Christian nations is really fascinating for me. Mostly because they have churches, and the churches are just so ancient, and they're like literally underground churches that are just in the ground.
They also claim they have the Ark of the Covenant there. Now it's protected by one person whose title is hereditary, and they're not allowed to show anybody, but they do claim they have it.
Which is why they beat Italy the first time. They only lost the second time because Italy cheated.
The first time Italy had this like Victorian racial science where they thought that they could like beat them with like 1/3 of the numbers, and then they got completely wrecked because racial science is stupid.
Amen.
Yeah, Italy shouldn't have. Yeah, who knew Italy would get screwed over by that?
They thought they could
racial...
beat them like the. They thought that like Italy could beat them like how the British beat like the Zulus or something, but like
the difference is that
even the British and the Zulu, Britain lost against the Zulu like the first few times anyway.
But the difference between Britain and Italy is that Britain rules the seas, and Italy. Somebody make a spaghetti
rules
joke.
The dinner plate.
I was gonna say rules the spaghetti, but then I realized that's a horrible joke, and I should not ever say that.
Yeah, so Ethiopia definitely touched their spaghetti. Yes, expired memes.
I love how our
hands off of my spaghetti.
I love how our podcast. This is gonna be a thing.
My spaghetti.
We just need to take memes that have been dead for like a month, and then just regurgitate them. And that's going to be the new fun thing of our channel is we just
Hey
make everybody
guys,
collectively
remember
cringe.
Rage Comics?
That's a
Hey,
I
I'm
like
29. I am like
you.
being only a month behind on the memes, I think is pretty impressive.
True. I hated spaghetti when it came out. Even I don't really. We're not getting into spaghetti. I don't want to talk about spaghetti.
Oh, we got a good one going. Michael Zambon said that Italy rules the risotto. There we go. Gold
Let's
star.
all give a round.
That was such a
Woo!
hearty laugh.
Makes me want risotto.
We got there, everybody. We got there.
We did it. But yeah, like I forgot what our lead-in was with Ethiopia. How did Ethiopia come up?
Because you were talking about Italy, and I was talking about how I thought Italy was being a dick because you were researching Italy, and I was researching Ethiopia for future videos.
Previously on the So That Happened podcast 5 minutes ago, I hit my mic again. Yeah, but that's the funny thing. Ethiopia now. I mean, that's the sad thing. I think in the modern age, what happened with Ethiopia is one of the sad things because it's like they were super prominent and they at least like had their own kingdom and everything, and now they're just kind of there. They just kind of exist. So
yeah,
so sad. Oh well. But yeah. Oh, speaking of African stuff, Black Panther. Oh boy. Nobody saw it. I didn't. I saw it, but I'm not gonna spoil it for you. I am gonna say one thing without spoiling it. This is the thing that's been bothering me the entire week. Both the general public's entire reaction to this movie astounds me. Like, people are treating it like the greatest thing that has ever graced movies, and people are treating it like the worst thing that's ever happened. And people are acting like this big, dumb Marvel action movie is like the equivalent of like how it's like the bar that we set for ourselves as a culture now. Like, that's the thing that blows my mind is basically people now take superhero movies as like the sign that like this is our culture now. This is a sign of progress. Or even like on the other end, people are taking superhero movies as this is a sign of our nation going down the hill. You're both idiots because it's a superhero movie and it has as much cultural relevance as Thor Ragnarok does or Ant-Man. And it just makes me cringe and laugh and cry and just kind of, I'm tired. I just get tired.
Well, I mean, I
well,
think
as cultural historian
like,
here,
like it just depends like how much of a comic person you are. Because like if you're invested in the Marvel comics or Black Panther as a character at all,
I like
then yeah, a lot of those people were really impressed by the movie.
Yeah,
because we're like the main reason why it's such a big deal.
That's
is like,
fine. Having Black Panther, like, as in the terms of the comics and in comic books and stuff, Black Panther is fine. Black Panther and the whole having a Black Panther. I was excited for a Black Panther movie. It's when people take it out of the realm of this being a superhero movie and they start acting like this is like the cultural phenomenon that's ever existed. Like, people are saying it's like one of the greatest movies of the 21st century. No, it's not. It's a good movie. It is a good movie.
That title clearly belongs to the B movie.
If I may,
clearly over the hedge.
I might have a few things to add to this. Now I haven't seen it yet, so
sure.
But I've been hearing that it's pretty good.
Yeah, it is pretty good.
So there's a thing in these liberal socialist communist universities that everything called semiotics, which is the idea that symbols, the kind of cultural relevance of symbols, for example. And I think the hyperbole is that this is a big-ass action movie that entirely takes place in Africa, or at least mostly takes place in Africa, stars an African who is the leader of an unconquered African kingdom, and all of the star cast are African. Like, there's something to that. There is, maybe it's like, maybe it's blown out of
Yeah.
proportion, but the
I
thing
mean,
is that
I get.
if I was a black person,
Yeah.
I would think that that was a pretty big deal.
I think maybe I didn't explain myself right. I'm not saying that this has absolutely no cultural significance. Like I saw a video of Africans coming out of seeing the movie and they're celebrating and they're dancing and it's like that's endearing. That's like people can identify with something that's important. That's cool. It's when people basically take it being an African thing and instead of saying, okay, this is good for this is, cool because it's something different. It's, it is that African flair. That is a cool thing. It's when they basically take that concept and they say that it is the greatest thing that has ever happened
Oh
because
yeah,
it does that. Like,
there is some
or
cool
it's
stuff
the
though.
worst, or on the other end, it's the worst thing that's ever happened. Or it's
Oh
people,
yeah,
or people basically insert their own political ideas into a movie that already has a lot to say about political stuff. I mean, the movie is actually pretty interesting in how it has political concepts. But that's kind of overlooked because everybody basically inserts their own preconceived notions into it, and they're like, "Oh, it's great because of this." So it's like the greatest thing ever, or it's the worst thing ever. It's a pretty good superhero movie that has an all African cast that
yeah.
has an African
That
flair.
yeah.
That is it. That is
There's
all
a
it.
cool.
Which
There's
I
a
see
cool.
tomorrow.
I think there's a really cool thing to that too that I should probably add in, and that is that there's like this discussion in the meta text of movies, like the movies of the talk about movies, like for example, back when they did the Ghost in the Shell thing,
Yeah.
when they cast Scarlett Johansson, and they were like, oh, we couldn't have cast like a Japanese actor for that role because we need the star power, and a movie that's led by like a minority actor is not going to do well. And the fact that this movie is being commercially successful is kind of saying like, yeah, that whole like thing that you need like a white actor to lead a movie in order for it to be successful has kind of been kicked in the balls a bit, which
On
I think is a
on
nice thing.
on the opposite end, I will say that there's a Full Metal Alchemist movie coming out, and it's made in Japan, and I would say that is actually a movie that needs white people because that's a movie that takes place in Germany, but they basically put Japanese actors in because for some reason anime always likes to have Germany and its stuff. What was it?
Yeah,
Attack on
doesn't
Titan.
Attack on Titan takes place in Germany?
Yeah, Attack on Titan did it, and Full Metal Alchemist did it, and it wasn't like these characters being German or European is like a fundamental thing, and I think on Attack on Titan, the whole point of it was that these are like German people, and there's a character who was half Asian called Mikasa, and the weird thing about her was that she was she was like half foreigner. That was the point
Was
of it.
her house your house? Was Mikasa's Sukasa?
Why can't you just go away? Anyway, yeah, but
Much of your audience is thinking this.
delete Tristan button. Where is that? Why can I not contribute enough money to kick him out? Anyway, yeah, but like when you take a character that's half Asian in an entire and then you have the live action version be everybody's Japanese, what's the point of Mikasa then? And and it turns out it actually takes a lot of away from the movie. And in this new Full Metal Alchemist movie, everybody's Japanese again, and it in Germany.
To be fair, Japanese is like super hard to learn.
Yeah, I mean, what
Like
I think the
finding
lesson
6 German people who can speak Japanese would be difficult.
I think the lesson here is don't make live action anime movies. That's the
I mean,
lesson.
yeah. Just let the anime be anime. That's why it's in the name, right?
There's no anime's not even good in the first place. Just don't make it live action. It's not.
Cody, you've doomed the podcast.
No, anime's trash. Anyway, it is.
That's it. I'm out. Takes off microphone, walks out of the studio.
Oh no, Tiger Star, you're not a weeb, are you? Don't tell me you are. Don't say.
I like anime.
No, I like One Punch Man. That's it. That's all.
Oh,
I honestly
that's all I like. That's all I've ever liked. Everything else, I just can't.
I stopped on
what
anime.
What about Dragon Ball Z?
I I enjoy Dragon Ball, but
And
Dragon Ball is so
surely, and
but
surely you enjoyed Pokemon as a kid, right?
Dragon Ball is so over the top though. Like that's the reason why it's amazing. It's
That is
so
nowhere near over the top anime wise.
okay.
Like not even
I'm not
close.
talking like Gurren Lagann like the universe sized drill. I'm talking like man, how do I know anime facts without fucking watching anime? Anyway, um,
Which is why you don't know what you're talking about, and you should watch all the anime. Okay, not all the anime. That's crazy.
I'm not
Yeah,
I
I
watching
don't
it.
know.
kind of got out. I kind of got out of it when I was like 13 or so.
Yeah.
You know, when the Gundam Wings and the Dragon Ball Z's were kind of running out of steam.
Pokemon Pokemon was
So
only good in like the first I don't know, up until Johto. Like that's the
I
only
Oh, I
kind of
know.
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I know. I'm just trying to think of some counter examples.
I kind of
Um
got out of Pokemon in the Gold Silver days. But I will say that I've been trying to get wade back into the waters in a very very kind of brief way,
mhm.
and it's mostly been trying to watch the classics. So like I watched about maybe 8 months ago. I watched Akira for the first time finally because everyone was saying how good it was, and trying to find like what's like the good stuff that actually sticks up, like the anime that's not just for the fans. You know?
Yeah, anime movies are different than shows. They're entirely different mediums. I mean, I've watched Akira. I've watched Studio Ghibli.
You got to watch Death
Every,
Note.
every studio. Oh, I thought when people say Death Note now, I don't think of the anime. I think of the shitty Netflix movie.
No, no,
But it
that
makes me
is
laugh.
no.
I'm
it makes
being
me laugh.
told that I should watch a show called Cowboy Bebop. Is that a good one?
That one, yes, that one is
Cowboy
fantastic.
boop boop beep boop.
That it's like how do I describe that? Imagine like space western plus jazz.
Okay. And I did watch a little bit of Attack on Titan, but I got bored.
That one's overrated.
Yeah,
It was good
it's
for a
so over.
while, and then they got to this. There's like this few episodes where like, because like they want to show off like the crazy like gas piston Spider-Man razor blade fights, right? Like that's the whole thing about the show that's supposed to make it cool, right?
Yeah.
And there's a point in the show where they get to like a fight with the Titans, but it's like in like a field, and then they're like, oh no, the plot needs a forest, and so all of a sudden they just find like this gigantic forest full of redwoods
Mm-hmm.
that are like the size of skyscrapers, so that they can have the fight. And I'm like, okay, whatever.
It's like we never left at all. Oh boy.
You know,
Okay,
Cody,
it's good that you
there's
brought
one.
up. It's good that you brought up Attack on Titan because this is the thing. And this is the reason why I think anime is completely trash. Is
Wow.
I'm gonna say I'm gonna defend my point. Every
He blew
anime
his bean.
I've ever watched, it starts off strong. Attack on Titan is the perfect example of this. The first 3, 4, 5 episodes are great, right? Like it starts off
Yeah.
as a giant attack and it's like everybody's dying. You're like, oh shit, stuff is going down. There's character development. And
Yeah,
then
even when he's like,
and
going through school and stuff, it's pretty good.
and then every anime except for One Punch Man, ironically, that I have watched, just goes downhill.
Do Death Note.
Um,
Death Note.
no,
It's like it's a short series. It's really good from start to finish.
I,
You love it.
I might, I,
And maybe you could do
but
this for homework. There is one anime series that is an alternate history anime series.
but anyway, I'm getting to my point. Why I hit my mic again? I'm getting to my point about why it's trash. Um, it plummets, but then it stagnates. It basically goes off a cliff and then it goes in a plane. And in that plane, the characters don't really do anything. They kind of just repeat like the same attributes that they already have. The plot sort of meanders until the next big climax. So there's usually 4 or 5 episodes of filler. And then there's the big thing at the end of the season. And the big end of the season is like, oh boy, it's crazy. The next season happens. And then that's when we start having the fan service. So you know that you know that hot girl that was in the last one? Oh yeah, she's gonna have like all of these shots and everything, and it just becomes every single season of anime that I've ever watched. The second one always descends into just fan service of everything, and I can't ever get past it. It's trash. It just becomes trash. It like they become a black hole of their own ego, and it's like the creators are like, oh yeah, you know what, you know, like you like this, and so they basically take the plot and they destroy it.
Cody.
Every single one I've ever seen has done that.
I will make you a
Attack
list
on
of
Titan has done
anime
it.
that you should.
Gate has
I will,
done it.
no, I look. I will make you a list of anime you should see, and I guarantee you there'll be anime that won't do those things.
Yeah, but even if you send me like 3 or 4 good anime series, that is like YouTube. Like YouTube, there are 4 or 5 or 6 good channels. That doesn't stop the fact that there is an ocean of trash underneath it. An ocean of
Yeah,
just
but see, when you say all anime is trash, and
okay.
you won't.
Okay, you want me to revise my statement?
Like,
All anime is trash except for like 5 or 6 series. At
but see,
best.
that's not true. See, like a lot of like anime that like blows up. Like I don't want to sound like I'm a hipster or anything, but a lot of like the top 3 mainstream anime at a time, like every few years or so often. Yes, most of the time that is trash
The
because it
best
caters to the
okay.
lowest
The
denominator.
best
But there's
best
lots of
mainstream
anime.
best
Go ahead.
mainstream anime that has came out in the last 2 years or so is Castlevania. That is it. That was like one of the few animes that I can actually
Wait,
get.
wasn't that was a game? That was like a game that I played on my like
They,
Game Boy
it's
they
Advance.
made
like-
they made a Castlevania anime
Like-
for Netflix.
I remember playing it like 16 years ago on the Game Boy Advance when I was on a road trip. That's all I know about Castlevania.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really gory and it's very serious. It's pretty awesome. And wait, man, we are really getting off topic. But anyway,
It's all right. What's it called? Off topic is our topic here on So That Happened.
but anyway,
just
that
watch Death
and
Note, Cody.
I tried
Watch
to
Death
watch
Note.
I tried to watch Devilman Crybaby, and it was good for like 4 episodes, but then it just started stagnating, and it was like
That's the thing, is that you decided to push play on a show called Devil Man Crybaby.
it's a good concept, but it was a reboot, but it was like it just kind of couldn't push it forward. And
Now, what's the show? I know there's an anime out there that is basically like Poland Ball, the TV show.
Oh, that's Axis Powers Italia.
Okay.
Oh no! Oh god! In the same
It's
vein,
like somebody just watched all the Mapper channels on YouTube and is like, "Hey, we could do a show out of this."
in the same vein, my friends a few years ago, I'm not gonna say who, but they said, "Hey Cody, you should watch this anime called Girls und Panzer." And
Oh my gosh, no.
oh
No.
yeah. I have never let them let that down since. They have never lived it down. I will always remind them that they watched and they enjoyed Girls in Panzer.
That no. See, this is
Oh,
is
yeah.
why I have to make you the list of anime you have to see. Not them.
Anime.
I watched like one episode of it and I thought, why are you doing this to me? But that wasn't like the thing that made me hate anime. There's a lot of I think the thing that I really started hating anime was Gate. Gate was the thing that it was such a good concept and they ruined it with fan service. Like, tell me if you have a show where the modern Japanese military goes into a medieval fantasy world and just wrecks shit. Like the dragons dominate this world are just blown to smithereens by like F-16 fighter jets and massive medieval armies that you would see in Lord of the Rings. They get blown up by mortars and modern militaries and guns and these medieval like people don't know what's happening. They think it's like holy shit, it's like the apocalypse has basically came, but it's just the Japanese Defense Force. This is like a fantastic concept, and then the 3rd episode just collapses, and they're like, you know that whole good concept? Let's just get rid of that. And it's going to have all of these girls that look like they're 14 years old, but they're actually 700 years old, and that was when I just turned it off. It's like, nope.
See, like I think I came. I'm from a different era because like when I was like a the anime age, which is like 12 to 14, um, it was all about Gundam Wing, like with Duo and Hero and the robot with the scythe and stuff.
Yes, everyone does a Power Rangers giant robot thing.
It's like
Gurren Lagann's pretty good. But it's like
Death
for every
Note, Cody.
but my thing is that for every good anime is out there, there's just so much trash. And
yeah,
I get
that's
it.
true of like
I
literally
get-
everything.
Yeah, that's true. Like, yeah, I like some music, but like the great majority of music is trash. So that I music sucks, man. Just
I mean, you're
don't listen
right.
to
You're
music.
right because anime is Japanese animation. It's not a genre. It is just
It's a bit of a genre.
Like,
yeah, but
there's
it's
genres
Japanese.
within
It's Japanese animation, but it's like I don't know. I don't really like Japanese entertainment at all. Like even their live action stuff. I don't
Even
know
their
if it's
sadistic game shows.
I like their games, but I just cannot ever get into any movies, any live action. Well, not okay. Movies are a little bit different, but their live action movies I cannot get into. They are just always boring. And then anime is just trash. But yeah, I don't know.
There
I'll
was
make
people who
you
were
a
talking
list.
about. They were thinking that this is a comic movement that happened, I think, about 2-3 years ago now, and it was this thought that French comics were getting really big, and people were saying that there's gonna be like a French comic revolution that was gonna be similar to like when manga came to like the Americas.
Oh yeah, that
But
happened.
and it did include one series that I think you probably would have liked, which was about like World War II with mechs, and it was some French comic, and it had like Soviet mechs, which is like I feel like would like make most people in this chat just like groan.
There's what's it called? That World War One. Have you ever seen that art with World War One, but it has giant mechs, and I think they're making a game off it now. It's called like Iron Harvest. Like that adding anything with mechs is pretty awesome. So I don't think it's like a dumb idea, but I don't know French. I'm not even gonna give an opinion on French comics because I I never even. I think the only French comic I've ever actually read was Perspopolis, and that's it. Man, we have what? This is an anime channel now. That's what this is.
Oh, please no. Literally, this conversation we had has now tapped everything I know about anime. Like I'm done.
We're
I've
at the
learned.
bottom of
I've
the
said
well.
all I know.
Bottom of the well. Hey, that's fine, because that was literally all I knew about anime too. Apparently,
Guys, we did it. We did it. We did all the anime. We solved it. We did anime.
We are never talking about it ever again in the history of this
Cody,
thing.
I'm still making you a list. I'm sorry. I'm going to make you a list.
Please don't.
Yes.
I'll block
Ah,
you.
shit. I'll give it a go.
I'll block you from Discord.
I ain't proud.
Cody, I guarantee you'll like Death Note.
You'll go away. Please stop.
Don't knock it till you try it.
I already have so much stuff that I actually should watch.
It's a short series. You could literally marathon it in a single day.
I don't want to marathon it because guess what? We still
Well,
have
then take your time.
We still have that Alien video.
Yeah, which you should totally upload tonight, just
Yeah,
because.
I'm not
And
uploading.
we-
Okay. This is the
And
thing.
don't think we haven't forgotten the like freaking Arab nationalists.
I
United
actually
Arab
wanted.
video.
I wanted to do that. You never messaged me. You never said anything about it. I
Was
was.
this me? Was this up to me? Is this my job? Is this my project?
I don't know. I thought it was the whole thing. We were gonna do it.
All right. I mean, I thought you guys needed to get your what's it called? Your
Yeah,
Toad
we
Love
did
videos out.
we did need to get our thing. Well, Tiger Star can't upload the second part until Friday, so
I thought I was
Alright.
doing it Wednesday.
Oh shit.
Wait, you said you were uploading.
No, because I thought you were going to get it done last week. So I said if you got it done like in the middle of last week, I would have uploaded part 2 on Friday.
Oh,
this
you're
is
talking
really
about
this
Friday.
is such good podcast stuff. Oh my god,
It
so
is.
good podcast.
It is because this is like
Yes.
we have not actually communicated really in like 2 days, so this is actually catching up. No, but okay, fine.
Hey guys,
The
I
only
had
reason-
peri chicken for lunch.
Oh my god, no. The only reason I didn't was because I was busy all day. I had church stuff, but apparently we have a Spanish style cathedral in Toledo. I didn't know that, and
Toledo used to be a Spanish colony, yo.
I don't think that's true.
No, not
That's
in Ohio.
no. It's just named after Toledo. But the cool thing is that my
I thought it
cathedral.
got up that high at some point.
No,
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 that's
no.
we were France at one point.
Yeah,
Yep.
but like, remember how Louisiana got passed back and forth between Spain and France?
Yeah, but
Well, yeah, but that
Spain
was
never
west
got.
of the Mississippi, not the east.
Yeah, Spain never got past the Mississippi. It was kind of like they got to
Mm.
North Dakota, they never got to Ohio. But Toledo just shares the name with Toledo, Spain. So they thought, hey, since they both share the same names, they're like sister cities. So they took one of the stones from the cathedral in Toledo, Spain, and that was the founding stone of the Rosary Cathedral in Toledo. And it's the only Spanish, like medieval Spanish style architecture church in the United States. So when you walk into it, it doesn't actually feel like you're walking into a modern church that was built in the 1940s. It feels like you're walking into like a 14th century like medieval cathedral and
Question: when was it built?
the 1940s.
1940s. Okay.
Yeah.
Shit.
So I mean, it's just gorgeous. But it was like I was even late. I was a little bit late, but I've never been into the cathedral before, and so as soon as I opened back the doors and I saw just the immaculate art and everything, and I was just like, oh, I'm gonna just kind of take my good old time strolling to the pews. Um, but yeah, that was a great cathedral. And it was weird because it's like on Toledo doesn't really have very few good areas. That doesn't really make any sense. Toledo has very few good areas. Like most of it is really poor and polluted and not something that you would ever want to live in. And there's a lot of crime and it's all not fun. But this was like one of the few areas that I felt like it was in the middle of Toledo and it didn't feel like it was actually in Toledo. Um, because it was like this giant, it was just this long road of all of these churches, like not just Catholic, but there was a giant Lutheran church, Methodist, Baptist. It was like everybody just decided, hey, let's all have our big center of our churches be on the same city road. Okay. And these churches are just incredibly huge. But then you go down the line and the biggest church of all is just the Rosary Church. It just like dwarfs everyone else. And maybe a little proud, but oh well.
Question: so Ohio and the Toledo area, like, what's like the primary like immigrant group that it's made up of?
Polish.
Okay, that
Pretty,
explains the Catholicism.
yeah, pretty much the closer you get to Toledo, the more Catholic you get. So
Mm.
I think Tyler is basically 100% Polish, and we sell a lot of punchkis here. So Lent is really big. Fat Tuesday's really big around here, and I mean, the demographics of Northwest Ohio are kind of aging a little bit because most young people are leaving. Um, hell, I'm leaving, but so it's like that Polish flair to the community is kind of going away, which kind of sucks, but it's still retaining a little bit. We have Polish festivals sometimes, and
Yeah.
it's like
That's
the
cool. I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff to do in there then.
yeah. I think Buffalo also has a big Polish community too, because whenever my
So does Chicago.
yeah,
Yeah, Chicago's got that Italian and Irish flair though to it.
Really,
oh man,
like
Chicago.
really the like Polish people and like the Baltic states, like a lot of those immigrants settle in like the eastern part of the Midwest,
Mm-hmm.
like Illinois, Indiana, Ohio.
Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah, because my grandparents are from Buffalo. I'm not Polish. I'm like British descendant, but there's a huge Polish community in Buffalo, and they would make these Polish dogs, greatest hot dogs, greatest sausages I've ever had ever. And so every single time they go up to Buffalo, they bring back just like a bucket. Or a bucket or like a case, or it's like a huge box of Polish dogs, and they freeze them for the entire year. and they're just the greatest. It doesn't even matter if they were made like 12 months ago. They're like the greatest sausages still.
See the primarily immigrant group, the country that found it is let me just check my notes here. All of them.
All of them. Wait, what?
All of them.
What does that mean?
I live in a gigantic city that has like immigrants from like literally every country in the world.
Yeah, but I mean the founding. Well,
I don't know. It was, Iroquois, and then French, and then English.
Doesn't Toronto have like a
everybody.
huge like Caribbean population?
Toronto's.
I mean, it
just
does. Yeah.
Toronto's just a
We have a big Caribbean festival, but we also have like I don't know. There's a little everything here.
What's it called? But yeah, I mean Toledo is. Toledo is not a great city at all. It's tolerable. I think everybody basically says at least we're not Detroit. That is that is literally the motto.
Well, you're also not Cleveland.
Yeah, like there was that Cleveland video that said at least we're not Detroit, and Toledo's motto is at least we're not Cleveland. So we're like the trifecta of shitty cities, all within 50 miles of each other. It's pretty great. Just fan or probably 100 miles.
If I recall, this city has been called the over half of the population of Toronto has been born outside the country. It's supposedly considered the most multicultural city on the planet.
Doesn't Toronto also have the worst, like one of the worst housing prices because you can't figure out? You guys just let Chinese rich people basically buy property and it just spikes up the property rates.
They told that a while ago. It's more the fact that we have some limits on how big cities can grow out. We have we're running up against some protected areas, and so it's hard to expand much further. And yeah, we're having a housing crisis, that's for sure, because we have a lot of rich people who buy condos and then just lease them out for ridiculous rates, like the one I live in.
I would never want to live there ever. I would like you can. I don't know.
Like Canada needs some Georgism.
I think one of the biggest priorities I have is low property rates. And so even though
have you considered moving to Antarctica?
Who knows? But
property rates are super
low.
I
mean, that's kind of the great thing about my job is God help it if everything goes well, but I can move anywhere. I can live anywhere. So it doesn't matter if I'm here or in Texas or in the middle of Arizona
or Missouri.
Shut up. Anyway,
it is kind of cool though to live like 2 blocks away from Parliament. Provincial Parliament.
But it's Canadian Parliament. No, I'm joking. Anyway.
I'm just imagining like Canadian Question Time is just like so polite that like if there's a Canadian C-SPAN, like no one watches Question Time.
No, man. What's it called? Our Democratic Socialist Party like throws massive shade during the question period.
Yeah, but it's Canadian, not British, so it would be super nice in comparison.
Probably.
Well, you know what? I think the honorable delegation over there is so rude, eh? Yeah, no need for name calling. And then that's just like the entire question time.
I love how that's his Canadian. I love how that's Tiger Star's Canadian impression.
All Canadians are from Minnesota. You heard it here first.
I mean, I was going for Manitoba, but I guess that's kind of the same area. Like, it's just right above Minnesota.
Minnesota does... I think Minnesota is the only place that even really kind of sounds like that. That's like...
Well, it's because it's like the one place where all of the... What was it? Like, Norwegian immigrants moved to or something? Like, some Scandinavian group moved there in a huge numbers, and that's how the Minnesotans started to sound very strange.
Yep.
See, I thought that was also kind of the accent for, like, the prairie provinces. Like Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba.
My mom's from Saskatchewan, and they have an accent, but it's like hard to pin down. It's really weird though. It's not like it's one of those accents that's like very subtle, and you'll only pick up on it if you like spend a lot of time with them. But yeah. My wife's from Chicago, and she's got her own Chicago accent, so I'm very attuned to accents.
Meanwhile, in the Midwest, we're told that we have no accent, which is why a lot of nationwide TV broadcasters pretend that they're from the Midwest.
Ohio is weird. Ohio can go from, I mean, I don't really have an accent, but also it can go from like me having no accent to, if I go out a little bit east, most of my family sounds like they're from the South, like deep South. And it's
Yeah,
because Indiana truly is the extension of the South, and
it is.
that's not bad. I like the South, but Indiana, uh, as soon if I spend at least 3 4 days in Indiana, I start sounding like this a little bit, and
I
it's
agree.
kind
I'm
of
going to say I'm going to agree and make sure that I just have to make sure someone's listening real quick.
what.
What?
Yes, there is. Indiana is very much like the South.
Yeah, it is.
I was
Yeah.
wondering, I was checking to see if my wife was listening because she's from India.
So my uncle, I think the best I can explain my uncle is he is a white Dave Chappelle. Like he looks like Dave. He looks like if Dave Chappelle was white, and it always freaks me out because I can never look at Dave Chappelle right, without thinking of my uncle. And my uncle sounds like this, and this is what he sounds like all the time. And like, so I'm gonna sell you a Jeep, and it's gonna be great. And and then I start picking up the accent too, and after 3 or 4 days, I basically, it's something weird with accents. It's sometimes, have you guys ever had that? Like, do you ever have family in other areas? Or
Yeah, like even though most of my family kind of lives in the same general like set of counties near my area, like my mom's side of the family kind of has more of a Midwestern quote normal accent, but then like a lot of people on my dad's side of the family have a thicker Southern accent. Like one of my grandmothers, instead of saying iron, she says iron,
mm,
stuff like that.
Uh, the references might get lost, but yeah, my as I said, my mother is of prairie folk, and so that's typically a thing that I do or that I notice. But my dad's side of the family is all from Toronto, so
mm,
they
um,
all sound like me, except for like oh, and then of course I've got like my grandmother who's a francophone, and like a lot of that side of the family who are all have the wonderful Quebecois accent, which is hilarious in some extents.
which,
Tabernacle.
oh no, we gotta
Uh,
censor it. Uh,
you got the you have to realize it. It's a complex and difficult accent of Kalis
we
Tabernacle.
Tabernacle.
we just get like demonetized in YouTube.
This
Kerala.
video is now blocked in Quebec
Oh
province.
boy.
We used to have a prime minister in the 90s who had a super thick Quebecois accent, and his English was always interesting. And so sometimes his one of his favorite best quotes in Parliament was like, "Well, if a proof is a proof, then a proof is proven." It's like, what do you even say?
Yeah. I my my dad's side of the family is from Buffalo, and they're like, if you ever been to Buffalo, I don't know if it's everybody in Buffalo, but that part of New York, uh like back in the 18th century, 19th century, it was just called the burned over area, or the fired over area. It was pretty much the most, like, everyone just went nuts with religion. Everyone was just like super obsessed over religion, and it created all these crazy denominations. One of which became the Mormons. But I always have a theory in my mind that my grandparents are somehow affected by that, because they are the most craziest Baptists in the world, and I have
I'm gonna challenge that.
what.
Well, maybe crazy for Ohio, but
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, how?
According to Wikipedia's talk about Canadian accents, apparently Americans don't say adult and they say adult
But
yes.
anyway,
or
the
composite.
best I could say, for my grandma, is that it would give her a heart attack if she found out I was Catholic, and so she'd genuinely, like, I'm not even joking, she would probably have a heart attack and just die right on the spot. Anyway, um, yeah, so she'd be like, "Yeah, I always knew you were evil." But yeah,
No,
so my
I'm not Catholic. I'm
so I think the best
Spanish Lutheran.
I think the
Oh, well,
best
that's
I
okay
could
then.
I think the best I could give is that my dad's side of the family are like really nerdy, uh, religious people, and they're from Buffalo, and they moved to Ohio, and my mom's side of the family is like basically rednecks, and we lived in pretty much on the border of Indiana for like forever, and it was funny. It was always funny looking at Ancestry, um, and because my mom's side of the family like had absolutely no idea where we came from, and it turns out they were actually basically my family's pretty much Appalachian West Virginia, like that thing for like 300 years. Like the very first.
I have the sudden urge to join a coal mine.
So anyway, and then it was like pretty much my family has been in Ohio for 4 centuries, pretty much.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
That
Anyway,
Yes, ma'am.
Bobby,
I'm from West Virginia. Yes, ma'am.
West Virginia, take me home.
that
West
boy.
Virginia.
To the place I belong.
Whoa!
Whoa, Bobby! What quality podcasting skills we have.
Well, only
Yeah,
our
we are-
podcast can go from King of the Hill to John Denver to I don't know.
Tiger
anymore.
Star, I'm
Just-
not even joking. Every single time
King
you
of the
speak-
Hill is North American
every-
anime. I saw.
Every single time you speak, though, I do have Hank Hill in my head say the boy ain't right. Boy ain't right. That's you.
How are you going to handle it when you're a Texan?
Probably. God, I really hope I don't have an accent change. Well, it's ironic. It's funny
just-
because
Just
the
do
only-
Missouri.
I actually know a lot of Texans, but none of them have a Texas accent. And
I think there's a big urban-rural divide in Texas when it comes to the
yeah,
accent.
I know, but that's why
Yeah.
is because Joe, who is real life lore, if people don't know him, I basically I talked to him. We work together, and it's always funny thinking that he's actually from Texas because he is like the most California sounding person like ever. And
Well, I do
it's-
think that there's like a Southwest accent.
well, no, like his family's from California, so he basically
Yeah,
has-
I think that like there is an there's like a
no
sun-
way. You should like
there is
totally
a-
try this Texas barbecue.
there's like an accent that's not like that, like it's not like Valley Girl type accent. It's like but there is like a kind of Southwest accent that like I think people associate with like car dealers and stuff like that.
well,
And it's kind of like a Sunbelt
Te-
type thing. Sorry.
Texas really, I mean, Texas is weird. Texas has like in the east you have like the further east you go, the more south you get. So you're gonna get the more like Louisiana sort of accent. I think the true Texas accent is kind of going away a little bit, but like the true Texas accent is like really, it is fundamentally different than the rest of the South, and this is a thing that like
Do you guys remember Portal 2?
Nope.
yeah.
The Southwest accent I'm thinking of is Cave Johnson's accent.
Oh yeah, wait. Oh, that was who was Cave Johnson? I forgot who it was. Who
He was the founder of Aperture Science.
No,
I
I
don't know
mean
who voiced him.
who voiced him? I forgot.
Ooh.
Oh, he was from
He
Spider-Man.
was someone famous, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's someone famous.
J.K. Simmons.
J.K. Yep, that's who it was. But yeah, like J.K. Okay. So anyway, yeah, but what were we talking about? Oh yeah, we're talking about accents. I don't know. I always feel like I'd have to stop myself because it'd be. This is kind of the funny thing. I don't know. I hope to God none of Izzy's family members are listening to this, but basically, my girlfriend's family went down to Texas like a year or so ago, and it was hilarious because I guess her brother must have really taken charge of the local culture. He really liked the local culture, so as soon as they come back, he buys a freaking cowboy hat, a giant fucking he looked like the stereotypical, like almost Chinese ripoff version of a Texan cowboy.
Gosh.
And it was
So you're like 1 year into your move, you're gonna be like, "Howdy, y'all."
No, but this is the thing.
history of.
I find him. I find him as basically a warning for future Cody. don't be like that. Don't. And it was hilarious because we all went to a country concert, and most, if you've ever been to a country concert, most people just wear regular clothes, or the ball cap, like that's the thing. And he is the only fucker in the entire crowd that just dresses like a cowboy, and he is like the most, almost, I don't even, he works sometimes, but this is somebody who has like barely ever been in the South. He is not a rancher, not any of that. And it's just hilarious. It made me laugh.
It happens in Alberta too, for some reason. Apparently people there wear cowboy hats even when they like work in an office, and like cowboy boots even when it's like -45 outside. And like,
wearing the outfit's fine as long as you're not a poser. Like, that's the thing. Is, that in your case, that is poser. But it's like,
well, everyone moved to Alberta for oil and they work in an office, so yeah, they're
yeah.
posers.
But anyway, like, yeah, I don't know.
See, that's why
we have rural, like, hell, I'm even rural, but our definition of rural is not like that, and it's just hilarious when somebody basically is like, I went to Texas for like a few weeks. I'm gonna be automatically like that. He has since gone past that phase. He is no longer that anymore. But that's a warning for my future self when I do move to Texas, that no, Cody, do not automatically do that. Do not ever try to do that, because you are yourself, and do not try to be that. I know, like, maybe.
Well, what if cosplaying as a Texan's really fun? What if it's really, really fun?
I don't think most Texans are not that the cowboys. It'd be like saying all Americans are cowboys. So I'm pretty sure.
Hey there, American Chief. Let's talk. Why not?
Well, oh man, there's a Chinese ad online that was like an infomercial, and it was about something. It was about chains, and it was this Chinese guy doing an American accent, and he was like, "As you can see, we have the chains, and the chains are clinking, and all you have to do is make sure the chains are efficient, like next to the boat." And it was like the Chinese definition of an American accent was lower your voice and just speak really loud, and it's hilarious. I don't know.
Yeah,
you're like this, like the first time as an American, you're like, oh, this is what being stereotypes like.
It's like, this is what we sound.
Every time a foreign country tries to imitate the American accent, they either do the Valley Girl accent or they do the Southern accent.
Nobody ever does the Midwest accent
because we don't have an accent.
Actually,
we do.
I think people.
We do, but
I think people said if they ever see Americans, some people actually do genuinely like the Midwest accent, but it's because they take it as.
I love tacos.
They take it. No, not
I
that.
Love tacos with a corn tortilla.
That Midwest. No, bad.
That is not Midwest. How dare you?
That is Midwest.
Tacos.
That is Midwest.
We say tacos.
That's what my aunt-in-law sounds like, so I don't know.
But yeah, like they like.
Am I feeling regional pride right now?
Guys, let's go out and get some tater tats.
That's not Midwest at all.
I mean,
what is that?
Minnesota's Midwest.
Yeah, well,
Minnesota,
that's like
Minnesota and Wisconsin.
Okay, sure, but like that's like pocketed in like northern and eastern Minnesota, bits of Wisconsin. When I think of Midwest, I think of like Illinois, Missouri, Iowa, Kansas, the Dakotas, Nebraska, maybe Indiana, and Minnesota and Wisconsin too.
Those are Wait, you don't count Ohio as a part of the Midwest?
Yeah, I could see Ohio as a part of the Midwest. Yeah.
Okay, that was fine in words. That was fine.
I feel like Ohio's like the defining Midwestern state.
For people that don't know, this is actual live debate that always happens. Is who was actually a part of the Midwest?
And like basically, if you're north of the Ohio River, or if you're Missouri, Kansas,
Yeah.
and anything above those two states, then you're part of the Midwest.
See, this is very
See-
important in
see-
case we ever declare independence and make our own Midwest superstate.
Yeah.
We have
But,
to
but
know.
like just like kind of like how there's like more than one Southern accent, but there's still the generic
Yeah.
Dixieland Southern
Like
accent.
you got
There's
the
multiple
generic.
Midwest accents, but I don't think of the Minnesota accent when I think of the Midwest accent.
Yeah, like you have kind of the Carolina accent. You have the really deep
Virginia Tidewater.
yeah,
and
deep
stuff.
Louisiana. Then there's like the Cajun accent, which is different than Louisiana accent. You got-
Basically, the closer to the British accent it is, the further east it is.
yeah.
Do declare.
I don't think that. Oh, I was gonna say I don't think those people exist anymore, but then I remembered Lindsey
Hello.
Graham is a thing.
Yeah,
So,
Lindsey Graham and the fancy pants Lindsey Graham.
Lindsey Graham, who I thought was a woman for like 2 years, and I thought, no, I'm not even joking. I was like, wow,
I know.
wow, the Republican
Ah,
Party
shucks,
became,
my party's lost its mind.
they became really progressive having a lesbian in leadership. And I was like,
Oh,
oh, that's not a lesbian, that's a man. Oh, okay. Anyway, nobody ever saw the irony of it, I guess. So
yeah, I will say, until I went to
back-
Kansas City, I thought Missouri was the South.
I mean, back in his day, Lindsay was a very manly name,
I'm sure it was. I'm sure
along with Kelsey and
I'm sure him taking out the fan to remove the vapors was also very manly as well.
Yo, Lindsey Graham's a
Moved to
very
Missouri.
fancy Southern belle.
He is. Lindsey Graham, his ultimate dream is to be one of those antebellum classic girls in the 19th century movies. Oh. I don't know.
It's good to own land.
It's fun to do that accent. I could do that. I would love to do that accent all the time. We should just have a video where we just all speak in Southern Belle accents. It'd be fantastic. I don't know.
Oh boy.
I'm just imagining all of our non-American/Canadians who understand American politics fans are completely confused of who Lindsey Graham is. Oh well.
Lindsey Graham is a politician who really likes war. That's pretty much his entire thing.
He is a thing. He exists.
His entire political agenda is usually war. He loves it. Can't get anything.
I prefer Lindsay Ounces myself over Lindsey Graham, but you know.
This is the point in the podcast where I would just leave. I would just be like, I wonder what's on Reddit. I'm gonna watch Netflix. Thank you all for not doing the same. Very much appreciate
Cody,
it.
just remember though, whenever you do move to Texas, if you're gonna play in Texas, you got to have a fiddle in the band.
God, all these
Oh my God.
stereotypes, everyone.
I was gonna make some joke when you said about how your brother-in-law went down to Texas, and I was gonna say, or family went down to Texas looking for a soul to steal or something. But
That's Georgia. Makes me hurt. But yeah,
I know, it's all south.
And also,
Y'all are
once you're-
what's it called? I'm like the what's it called? The wildlings from the north. It's like you guys are all southerners to us.
we're gonna build the wall and keep the. So does that mean the Eskimos are actually the White Walkers and they're gonna just basically,
Oh no,
or would the
it's not. What's it called? That's not the word you use in Canada. Call them the Inuit.
Northern fish people? Okay, how about that?
Inuits. It's not that hard.
Fine, Inuit. There. I don't know. We don't have this thing. We don't know. America doesn't have that. We don't
Got
have
some
that.
in Alaska.
Yeah, we have them in Alaska.
Alaska doesn't exist. Alaska is.
I wish it didn't exist, but sadly it does.
Alaska is a Russian conspiracy. It is fake news.
Yeah, what's it
It
called? Alaska is a Russian bot.
Everyone who has
And it
ever,
was-
yeah, everyone
They
who's
sold
ever
it. They sold it to America in the 1890s to sabotage the 2016 election.
everyone who has ever mentioned Alaska is a Russian bot paid by Putin. This is
Yeah.
canon.
This goes all the way back. What's it
All
called?
the way back.
Catherine the Great was planning this 2016 election takeover.
She was planning Twitter before Twitter existed, and
Can you imagine if like the person who founded Twitter, Jack, I think his name is, if he like just like was digging up and he found some like notes from like Catherine the Great's writing about a platform where you'd share very short letters or something, and he's just like, I got it.
we're going to have them be by horse, and then everybody is basically going to have So this is how it's gonna work. It's not
It's
gonna
gonna be
be
birds because it's Twitter.
no, it's not gonna be Twitter. It's gonna be because you need people to read them. So what you're gonna do is you're basically gonna have your version of a site. It's going to be just this square in the middle of town, right? And then everybody sort of like writes whatever, like, say you're like, oh, I feel like I had this for dinner, or I have this pointless political opinion. You write it down on your little tiny note thing, you roll it up, and you throw it down, and there's a guy on a horse, right? The guy on the horse runs to the edge of the square, and then he stays in a line, and they all kind of line up. And then one by one, people just kind of move down the line, looking at all the horse guys, and all the horse guys just read your thing and they yell really loud. And then maybe the person, if they disagree with that fact, they could yell back at you. And that's the 19th century version of Twitter. And
I dare say Mrs. Applebee's back bacon is the best in all of Whitbury. Hashtag blessed.
I disagree with that. And then everybody who also disagrees with that comes in, and this just becomes a whole clusterfuck of everybody in a square yelling at each other and contributing absolutely nothing. And that is the 19th century.
How do you slide into someone's DMs in the 19th century?
You break into their house. You take a rock. You take a rock with your opinions. You tie it up, and you chuck it in their house, so they get it no matter if they don't want it or not.
It's about as welcome as somebody DMing you out of the blue.
Exactly. Yeah. And so they'll definitely notice just as much as when you accidentally have your computer volume too loud and somebody DMs you on Facebook or something, and I always get freaked out and jump up. So
speaking of 19th century forms of communication, does anyone like ever feel sorry for like the Pony Express? How it was like, such a revolutionary idea, and it like changed the game, but it only lasted like 4 years.
Oh man,
it was like Dig.
Yeah, pretty much.
It was the 19th century version of Dig. Oh well.
And it only lasted 4 years before it was outdated by telegraphs.
So tragic. Hey guys, you want to have a good idea? I have a good idea. Before we go for like 2 hours and then like in the last 30 minutes actually answer questions, why don't we have our second portion be just questions and answers?
Oh, yeah, all right.
Crazy. Okay.
All right. So wait. Are we gonna do the Twitter thing for it? Because we got a hashtag now.
We also have our super chats too.
Do we need? I already asked a question. I already asked the thing like 2 hours ago. If you want.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. Okay, but anyway, fine. If you. No, it's fine. We're good. We're good. We still got. We'll start searching for what's it called? Questions.
You can do super chats or hashtag ask STH.
Yes. So if you have a question, you can either send it to us on super chat and we will definitely read them, or we'll just be browsing through Twitter and basically looking at the questions that you have for us.
Someone on Twitter said that perhaps the Persian cookie name you're looking for is called Kohlrabi.
Yep, that's it. That's what that is.
Looks pretty tasty.
Yeah, they're like donut things or something. I love this. John C. Calhoun. John C. Calhoun asks,
also known as Andrew Jackson's last regret of not shooting,
asks, what aspect about history? What aspect about how history is taught bothers you the most? So, how are you annoyed about how
so many things?
Oh, we're gonna get triggered right now. This is gonna be a trigger.
Okay,
I'm gonna trigger the audience. That's what I'm gonna do.
Oh boy.
It's hard to pick just one thing, and I also think that it kind of depends on like which type of history we're talking about. But in general, like I understand why they do this because there's only so much you could fit in a school year or something like that. But in general, like when people look at history, they focus from like leader to leader, which don't get me wrong, it's important. And obviously the things that leaders do can change history quite dramatically, as we all know. But, I think also it's just as important to see what it's like amongst like the individual people as a whole, rather than like just from leader to leader to leader.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it, the one of the reasons I hate is how this really doesn't have to do with high school and college professors. I think this really starts off with uh, kids in elementary and in middle school. I think a real reason why there isn't such a love for history in mainstream circles is because when you first learn about it, you don't have very enthusiastic teachers in elementary and middle school who want to teach you about this stuff. At
This
least
is
from
why I'm becoming a teacher.
yeah, at least from my experience, whenever all of my history teachers up until high school were basically completely disinterested in what they're talking about. They always gave us the bare information, and the worst part was how they explained it. They never gave you a reason why you should care about the information, which is why I think what I think history is the most important thing about history is why you should care about the information. Yeah, you can recite dates, you can recite so and so person who died and did this important thing that you don't really care about when you're a 12-year-old. Uh, but you can teach that to a kid if you can just show them, hey, this is a cool thing and this is why it's cool. Um, that's a thing that I don't think a lot of middle school and elementary teachers are doing now. And I think that's not just
Plus,
history.
it's always the same thing every year.
Yeah.
Constitution, George Washington, Civil War. Oh, we ran out of time before the World Wars. Better luck next year.
Yeah. Or
Mhm.
not only that, I think for me, I didn't learn about Austria-Hungary until ninth grade. I
Yeah, because they don't even teach world history until middle school.
Yeah, that was the first time I ever heard. I heard about World War One. I like didn't care about World War One. I heard about World War Two. I kind of cared about World War Two, but it wasn't until ninth grade when my history teacher was like, "This is Austria-Hungary is a really wonky and weird country, and this is why it was cool." And I think my high school history teachers were one of the reasons why I actually started caring about it because they made it cool. The history teachers at our high school were the best teachers, and it's complete opposite from elementary and middle school. So I think the thing that I would change most is have teachers who are super enthusiastic about history, and I'm gonna add something, are also right because I am very, very shocked how much I was taught in elementary and middle school was just downright historically wrong.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like,
Read the book Lies My History Teacher Told Me, and it kind of is impressive how crazy it gets.
seriously, you should. Most of the misconceptions, most of the reasons why Americans are so bad at history and stuff is because they completely lose interest after middle school and they retain that sort of historically inaccurate stuff.
Like that really dumb thing where they're like, Columbus was the first person to not only discover America, but to also prove that the world wasn't round.
Yeah, and those are the reasons why misconceptions exist in the first place. Is because this
Yep.
isn't a crazy, stunning revelation that we just found out 15 years ago. We've known this forever. It's just the history teachers that we have teaching this stuff. I mean,
Yep.
there might be some, but a majority of them are not super enthusiastic about the subject that they're teaching. So, at least in my
All
experience.
right. I have 4 things, so I'll try to keep it all brief.
Oh boy,
Um,
crack knuckles. You gotta get through.
So one, this is the one that's really going to make everyone mad, is that there's far in public history, especially for history for general audiences,
Yeah.
there's way too much focus on uh, the wrong side of what wars are. So like wars are like diplomatic incidents, political conflict, like they have causes, they have stressors, and they have outcomes and conclusions. And I think that those are the important aspects if you're going to study a war. But getting stuck, I think that history things waste way too much time with like maps with like arrows and stuff on them, and I think that
Wow.
that's like a freaking game for
That's like
for like
literally
children.
my entire channel. How dare you?
Tiger Star, you are a historical misconception.
uh
Get out
I
of
think
here.
I think there's something different. You don't do like troop movements and like weird things like that. It's
What do you
like,
mean? I literally do troop movements.
all right, sorry. I just think that it's a thing that is overemphasized, I guess.
You're wrong.
That's it, Tristan. Our collab is off.
Fight.
Oh,
fight,
no.
Fight. Fight.
Oh, no.
Fight.
the other thing I have here is that when I read a history curriculum thing in a history curriculum in a Quebec situation, they said the point of the course was to create patriotic citizens and like willing consumers or something weird like that. And I was like, the thing is that like history, and this is the thing that historians are also talking about, is that history is way too nationalism focused. Like it was created during like peak nationalism in the 19th century, and it's stuck in the boxes of countries and states and needs to really break out if it wants to get stronger. Like one example is moving away from American history and colonial history to something called Atlantic history, and it's made the field way more interesting and shows some really cool stuff that's going on. The third is that history, as when you actually do history and you like, work with sources and things, it's a really good primer for teaching you critical thinking, reading against the grain, trying to read a biased source but still find the information anyway, those kinds of things. And that is the important stuff you learn from history, and nobody teaches that until like university level at the earliest. And the last is overemphasis on kings and generals and not like the everyday lives of the people who are living in these periods.
Yep.
I actually think this is a good lead-in. Cogito, I hope I'm pronouncing that, from Twitter.
Yeah, Cogito, he's a fan.
Yeah.
He's a friend of mine. He's got a good channel. You should check it out.
Cool. Cogito asks, "What is the worst historical misconception?" Which I think is a good lead.
Oh, there's so many to choose from.
I think. I mean, there are a ton of historical misconceptions, but I think this is a good way to have a broad thing. Is, I would say definitely the. I know. I would say probably the absolute, maybe not the worst misconception, but the one that absolutely annoys me is the demonization of the British during the American Revolution. I'm not gonna say the
Yes,
British.
please.
I'm not gonna say the British were perfect, and I'm not. And hell, just by me saying the British weren't that bad during the American Revolution would be something that somebody would call you an un-American bastard. I'm like one of the most American people you know. I know it seems like boasting, but I love America. I'm even a conservative, but it's like I can admit that this goes back to sort of the elementary and middle school thing. We basically teach in elementary and middle school that the British were the ultimate symbols of tyranny and badness, and the founders were like these almost Christ-like figures. And that's like the way that if you look back on like how you're taught in school, they're like these mythical people who basically save America from this tyranny. And then it isn't until you're actually in like high school and then college you find out, okay, it's actually a lot more nuanced than that. Both sides had good and bad. And
like the British going up and down the South, freeing slaves in order to fight against the Patriots.
Yeah, but it's not even slavery. It's just the fact that in the end, it was really about taxes. And yes, taxes.
The British are called the Redcoats because they're demons.
And it's like, yes, taxes are important things to fight about. And but then it turned out that the British were taxing it because they fought the 7 Years' War. And then it turned out the British were it turns out the Americans actually didn't hate the king. They mostly hated Parliament, who they saw as kind of threatening the king, and they basically were declaring independence from Parliament themselves. And so there's a whole lot of stuff I could go into it, but that's what I find the American Revolution a lot more interesting now, is because it isn't this like fight of good versus evil. It's two people who were exactly the same, and they fought each other and declared independence because they just simply couldn't believe they could cohabitate anymore. And
yep, I took a graduate level course on the American Revolution. It's quite interesting. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. It's one of those situations that's like, even though I'm an American, I can admit that it's not like the British were bad. It's not like the Americans were bad, or it was a war that happened in the 17th century, and it happened to lead to the thing that happened today.
And
18th century.
Kind of as an extension of that, there's also this misconception that like,
I don't know what I'm saying. What did I say?
You said 17th century.
Oh, sorry. I'm thinking about my words 10 times before I actually say them. I don't know. Anyway.
But like as an extension to that, there's also this misconception that's taught where like 75% of Americans were patriots, and yeah, there were a few loyalists, but not very many. It was all unified American opposition against the British. When in reality, it was like a third patriots, a third loyalists, and a third that were just neutral and didn't really care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I can add to this conversation. So, does anyone you guys watch Turn at all?
Watch what?
There was a TV show called Turn that was about the story
Oh.
of, I think, Hercules Mulligan.
Yeah, I've
the
actually
famous spy in New York.
Yeah, that's
So,
pretty cool.
So one of the villains in that show, who's painted as a slimy, horrible sex pervert character, is someone named John Simcoe. John Simcoe, fairly well known for being the first lieutenant governor of Ontario, the person who banned slavery in Canada, and known for amazing progressive things that he did as the first governor of Ontario. And I think that if you wanted to bleed into like another big misconception that I think I'll use as mine is that the American Revolution is often seen as just like a U.S. thing. I'm not even talking about like the French and the Dutch getting involved, but
yeah.
I think that Canadians and Americans don't acknowledge the fact that the American Revolution was the war that birthed both Canada and the U.S.
Yeah, because we tried to take Canada, but we failed.
And that's the thing that's really disappointing is that like, we basically have a super interesting, complex time in history, and we don't really even mention that to kids because, you know, if you have a kid who's like 10 years old, you could easily, I think, at least for me, you could easily explain sort of, you know, this, you know, the British and the Americans both fought each other. The British weren't like evil demons that we perceive them as. I mean, I think one of those reasons, one of those misconceptions is why in American media, there's the Patriot, which basically had the British as just the stereotypical evil bad guys. And there was, you know, Turn, which, you know, in some ways has that. And I think a lot of the reasons why that happens is because the American Revolution is so fundamental almost. It's fundamental to the mythos that is the United States. And in many ways that's good because, I mean, the founding, I'm not saying the founding fathers are wrong. The Constitution, all of it, all the stuff that happened from that is great. But it's almost like when we teach kids about the United States, what the United States is, we also, for some reason, can't do that without having an initial enemy in the first place. You know, it's like that the British are like the first boogeyman that children learn about now.
Yeah.
I could also add to that though is that like you hear that story about the British being bad and all this kind of stuff. You know that those loyalists, the ones that became a whole bunch of loyalists became refugees after the revolution, and the British resettled them in a region called Ontario. And so this is the reason why the American Revolution is also the kind of birth of English Canada, because it's when we got a lot of the people here. And
and that's the hilarious thing is that in the United States, loyalist is like a dirty word. Like,
we have like a loyalist highway, the loyalist trail and stuff like that.
Yeah, like even though Canada is like America's sister nation, like the greatest relationship of any two countries ever, it's hilarious that in America's mythos, the original Canadians are portrayed as basically just cowards, and they're really demonized. And it's like, no, it makes sense why they were loyalists. I mean, hell, the founding fathers in many ways were split on what to do, and so, you know, it makes sense why somebody would be a loyalist back then.
An alternate history where all the French Quebecois get revenge by joining the American Revolution.
Yeah, so it's like
that was the thing.
Yeah, so it's like, I don't know. I think that's to get back to the thing, so you guys can answer your question. How we teach the American Revolution and how the British are perceived is just annoys me. It bothers me. Somebody else.
Yep. And then also in terms of historical misconceptions, there is what I like to call the big three historical misconceptions that we always have to clarify all the time. Number one, Napoleon was not short. Number two, Marie Antoinette did not say, "Let them eat cake." And number three, Viking helmets did not have horns on them.
I mean, those are the
I
basics.
feel like every single time historical misconceptions are ever mentioned, Napoleon's height is always mentioned. It's almost like that is a conception now in these type of debates, or in
Yep.
these type of conversations, is Napoleon's height. I'm sick of talking about Napoleon's height.
But I mean, but like if you watch like any cartoon from like when we were little, or
Yeah, but
any
it's
political
like,
cartoon back then, he was always like a midget.
but I'm talking like the stereotype now in these historical conversations is somebody always brings up, oh, Napoleon wasn't actually short. I don't know, it bothers me. So it's like, I don't know. For me, at least in the circles that I am in, I think everybody already knows that Napoleon was average height for a Frenchman at that time. So I was like, oh well,
Fair enough.
fair enough. Um, but what were the other two?
Then we'll replace that one with the fact that this whole misconception that like, oh, Romans would like vomit after they eat their dinner in these places called vomitoriums. That's a complete misconception. That is actually not what a vomitorium is at all. A vomitorium is just the name for the entrance into a stadium
Yeah.
because it spews people into the stadium.
I'm going to use mine to anger all the Paul Joseph Watson fans out there and say that uh, there's a concept that the Mediterranean world and the Roman Empire was like this, as white as, white pale snow as you see in like paintings. But I think that one thing that makes the Roman Empire really cool that we don't often think about is that it was this huge multi-ethnic, multi-racial empire with I think they were finding uh people who had like dark skin who were like Roman praetors in regions
I
like
wouldn't.
Britain and stuff like that, and it's like
Okay.
really cool.
I
Yeah,
feel like
they even had a Roman emperor who was Syrian.
this is the thing though. I feel like the racial aspect of Rome is a bit too overemphasized because I feel like before before the Arab invasions, the ethnic makeup between North Africa and Southern Europe wasn't that different. Like, I would say the best comparison, Berbers are like the native North Africans, and they were, they look pretty similar to like Sicilians and Southern Italians. So even if Romans weren't like, the pasty whites that, sometimes they're perceived as, I would say Rome wasn't really that diverse, even at least in terms of skin color. They were all pretty relatively tan, and that's it. Like, they're all in the same relative climate. I would say the Arabs, who were far darker skinned and lived far south, when they invaded and they basically changed the ethnic makeup, that's when it became a huge difference between, North Africa and Southern Europe. But during the Roman time, there wasn't like that big of a difference. I mean,
I would say
even Syrians. I mean, Syrians and Lebanese and them. They look like Southern Europeans.
No, not no.
And they resemble that.
no. They were still like how they look now
Yes,
because
but
they were still Semitic.
they were still Semitic. But I'm saying that like it wasn't like there were like tons of really dark skinned people. It was
The diversity in the Roman Empire was more like cultural diversity.
yeah. I mean that's like the same. I mean that's kind of obvious though because the Roman Empire was such an expansive thing. I mean, I think you could even. I mean, even in the New Testament, the New Testament basically talks about how the Jews always were fighting against the Romans because, you know.
I guess I would probably say that in the pre-colonialism days, or like the strict racial hierarchies became more of a thing, that the Mediterranean world specifically was a much more heterogeneous place than we think of it.
Mm. But anyway, yeah, Rome. Yeah. So I feel like it's Egypt. I think we could talk about Egypt. Egypt's whole sort of definition of what race Egypt was. Egypt was not dark black. They were not pasty white.
Well, some of their dynasties were for both of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Some of the older ones for
like,
sure.
like it really depended on the dynasty because like Egypt was originally Semitic, similar to the Arabs, but there were also white
Oh my, you
dynasties.
just Midwested hard there. The
Apparently,
Arabs.
Arabs.
well, but there were like the pasty white dynasties like when the Ptolemaics came in, but then there were also the black dynasties like when the Nubians took over Egypt. Egypt just had like a lot of variety of dynasties.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some like proto
I'm
pyramids and
talking.
stuff.
I'm
in,
talking about like
Nubian
the
stuff.
actual Egyptians themselves now, not the ruling class. Like because
I
even
think
during
the term
even-
actual
Well,
Egyptian is
even
kind of hard to say.
Well,
even
in
during
that-
even
in that
during
case-
no, because during the Ptolemaic
I
time
mean,
there was
I mean,
racial
in that-
difference between the Greek higher class and the native Egyptians.
yes.
And during the Nubian time, there was a difference between the Nubian higher class and the actual ethnic makeup of the regular Egyptians. So even though the ruling class of Egypt went back and forth, it doesn't mean the genetic makeup completely changed all that much.
Yeah, that in that case, it was more like they were just Middle Eastern, like for Lower Egypt, and then Upper Egypt was a bit darker, and
Yeah,
that's really
pretty
about
much.
it.
It's just kind of boring that way. So it's like that's why that's the annoying thing when people say Egypt was white, Egypt was black. No, Egypt was what Egypt looks like now. Maybe a little bit less Arab, but it's like that's not very interesting for people to say. So the debate goes on.
Still, it is kind of funny because like we have sources going as far back as Herodotus, where Herodotus is like, "No, these people aren't white." Oh my gosh, Egypt is white. No, no.
I mean, they even have
no
They
Herodotus
even have
is
2,000 years ago. They have during the Ptolemaic times. They have those paintings.
Herodotus, someone who would have been fairly olive himself.
Yeah, they have those. What's it called? Sorry, I do smack my lips. During the Ptolemaic times, they had those paintings of regular Egyptian citizens, and they look like regular Egyptians today. Like it's not. It's not like the ethnic makeup changed that much. So it's like if you want,
because I mean, like despite like the Islamic Arab invasions, whatever you want to call them, well, that did spread things like Islam and like Arabia as a peninsula, like that culture around, like people forget that like the Babylonians, the ancient Assyrians, and the ancient Egyptians were still Semitic, Middle Eastern, whatever you want to call
I would say
it.
the only place that actually changed the ethnic makeup was like Libya.
Turkey.
No, like Libya and Algeria and Morocco, where the only people were like the Berbers. So in the low populated areas, the Arabs actually changed, but since Egypt was already so heavily populated, it didn't really do that much. Turkey got influenced by completely unrelated people from Asia, but
yeah, there's actually a weird linguistic root between Turkish and Korean.
Actually, that's actually been disproven in recent years.
Ah, crap! That was so much fun to say, though.
Oh no!
Yeah, well, there was a popular theory in linguistic studies that Turkish, Mongolian, and Korean and Japanese, that those four were somehow descended from the same language group. But now we're pretty sure that Turkish and Mongolian languages are like cousins, but then like Korean and Japanese are cousins, but they're not connected as the four group. Like they're separate.
Oh, someone asked a pretty good follow-up question about the Marie Antoinette thing, and the Marie Antoinette thing is that the person who said that she said "let them eat cake" were basically like revolutionaries who were trying to get people mad at her.
Yeah,
it was like printed in some shitty newspaper or something.
Yeah. So anyway, let's move on.
So that happened.
Ilha.
And
stop making
any
that
super
joke.
chat questions?
Yeah, they actually do.
Yeah.
Do we focus too much? Okay, so I'm actually. I need to say these.
Is
names.
Cogito asking if we focus too much on war?
Oh yeah. Okay, so I think we can answer that pretty quickly. Do we focus too much on war? Yes, we do.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yes. Culture is just as important as war.
I started Step Back for that reason.
Yeah. Anyway, Red Eagle 257 asks, do you think the United States would still be shaped the same without the Louisiana Purchase? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. What? Really?
I mean, without the Louisiana Purchase was significant because it was such a large.
Well,
Louisiana Purchase was significant because it was such a large. 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 because it was so much land at the same time. But I'm saying that the way that the United States was and the way that Mexico was, it was going to be inevitable that the United States was just going to take that land.
Actually, I don't think so because keep in mind, Napoleon, of course, took land back from Spain, 1800, and they sold it to us in 1803 once the cause in Haiti was pretty much done. But if Napoleon wouldn't have sold it to America, and since the British were at war with France, the British could have easily taken Louisiana from the French. And then you would have British
Oh.
Louisiana instead. And since, I mean,
Hmm.
I guess there's the War of 1812, but I mean, we weren't going to win the War of 1812, so we wouldn't have taken it from them then.
I mean, I think the question.
You know,
that
Okay, so like a hypothetical situation in which like Thomas Jefferson turns down the purchase.
I think the question.
Like, what happens?
I think the question becomes, how useful would the land be for the British, and would the British actually want to keep that land? And
I don't see why not.
I don't see why not either.
Okay, I thought the question was if there was no purchase,
Yes,
the U.S. looked like it does today.
That's what I'm saying, because the Louisiana Purchase happened because Napoleon wanted to sell it. So if Jefferson decided not to buy it, or Napoleon never made the offer, whatever, then I bet Britain would have taken it, because there's New Orleans, there's St. Louis, like the entire Mississippi River.
Yeah.
I mean, Britain could have taken the land and then won it
probably
after the
would have been.
Napoleonic Wars, and that could have completely stopped America's expansion out west altogether. Because would it really be worth it going to war with Britain?
I mean, I do like this. I do like this alternate timeline because it's basically Grand Canada.
I mean, yeah.
And I for one, welcome Grand Canada. It also means that
You're
all of
actually-
y'all would be Canadian.
You actually are right, Tiger Star. I'm thinking about that. Actually, then it would be. I mean, because
And yes, Cody, you can use that for a video if you want to.
Yeah, make this Aaron Green guy
Oh.
super happy.
You know, man, I actually think two great video ideas at the same time.
All right, we're just gonna nonstop collaborate. I want to help with this.
Oh boy, let's do it. I mean, hey, this could be once we get these videos done, we'll do that. Cool.
I'd do it.
Fib, no.
To the person in the chat who's asking, well, who did say let them eat cake? We already answered that. It was just a random guy making up stuff.
Yellow journalism.
Fib,
Yes.
no.
Or sorry,
asks-
journalisme jaune.
Fibno asks, do you think the USA should declare an empire now? Yes, for the Imperium. Let's do it. We'll invade.
Oh my.
We'll invade the filthy.
That would
filthy
make this
Canadians.
administration the biggest meme of all time if he did that.
We're gonna be knocking on your
Just
door, Tristan.
just.
It's gonna
We
happen.
need to
Just this is the time.
We need to stand up to our enemies, folks. We really need to stand up to our enemies. So I am announcing, and this is going to be great, folks, the first American empire. So this is how liberty dies.
God, you do
with
really.
meme-tastic applause.
You do way too good of a Trump impression. That's.
I know I do.
Believe me. See, I can't even do it because he just sounds retarded then.
China.
China.
I mean, it's more or
China.
less America just putting aside the pretense. So I mean, go for it.
The
I
United.
mean, yeah, we're
Imperi-
pretty much an empire in anything but name.
The United
so.
Imperium.
Got like freaking like 120 military bases across the world. Like you're already an empire.
The United Imperium of Americana. Let's do it. Let's go to the Twitter. Twitter will be our way. It will be our fun. Oh. Wait, do you have one?
Will the other episode of the podcast be on YouTube?
We'll see.
When are we gonna start syndicating this show? I think that's a good question.
I actually think this is a pretty good episode. I like this episode.
I think we'll start with this one.
Well,
Yeah.
this show was going to get syndicated by
Okay.
NBC, but
This
then
is
Cody
the
couldn't
thing.
keep his mouth shut about the Olympics announcer, and so that deal got cut off.
I will never bow to the networks ever. You cannot make me. I will stand defiant.
I'm just imagining like we're with the NBC people. I'm just like, it's a podcast about nothing. What do you mean it's a podcast about nothing?
Jerry, can I borrow your mattress? Well,
I'm totally Kramer.
Why can't you use your mattress? Well, I've been sleeping on it, Jerry. I need a
But I
mattress.
don't want to be a pirate.
I need a mattress I'm not using. Ah, fine. That's my Jerry Seinfeld impression. Jesus. Anyway, going on from that.
What's the deal with pollen?
What's the deal with pollen? What's the deal with the podcast? That sounds like a mix of Cosby and him. Oh well. Evan Thompson asks, "What's your favorite alternate history world?" Wow. I would say probably um my favorite alternate history world's probably
The one where I am born to become the prince apparent
Yeah.
of a world empire that my family controls, and I
For
live the best life ever.
the Atlantropa articles. It's a great book. You should read it. Yeah. If move on.
Actually, I'll go with I am less of a well-read alternate history fan. I'm actually fairly partial to the Watchmen scenario.
Ooh, hoo, hoo. I didn't even think about that. Man,
Yes, the
okay.
one where you have a person who could totally blow up the world, but he chooses not to because
If we're bringing that into it, I would say Brave New
Superman Red
World.
Son.
Well, no, not Superman. Superman Red
that
Sun's
that that would be quite a
I would
dystopia.
I would say Brave New World because I think that's a form of dystopia. That's a form of alternate history, kind
Yeah.
of. The whole sort of. I like it because I mean,
If it's a
19
dystopian future that was written long enough ago that their dystopian future would be our past, I can call that alternate history now.
Yeah. I think 1984 I love. I love 1984. Don't get me wrong.
Wait, I thought the question was we'd love to live in.
No.
Oh,
Your
living. Oh
favorite.
shit.
No, it said your favorite.
Okay.
What's
Oh,
your
okay.
favorite
No.
alternate history? Where did you get that from?
Well, see,
I've never heard of an alternate history that you want to live in.
well, like I thought I heard the question
Actually-
of like favorite is in like, oh, I would totally want this timeline to be
No.
true.
What's your
type
favorite? What's
thing.
the thing that you find the most interesting? Actually, there is an alternate history world I would want to live in. It is from a novel called
The one that we did where there was no internet.
No, it was. I think we discussed this. It was the one that was the super futuristic Jetsons style
Oh yeah.
thing. I forgot what it was called. But that's the one. I'm not gonna look it up because I forgot what it was called. But that's the one I would want to live in. Anyway, moving on. Let's keep looking, and it will be a fun.
Oh, we got another supper chat.
Oh, we do.
Supper chat.
We got a supper chat. Okay.
I prefer dinner chat.
Could... How do we?
All right.
How do we do?
I feel
this?
like this guy
I mean-
has opinions about me.
I mean, we could.
Sure,
but we
why he
probably-
can. Whatever.
Next question.
We're not gonna say it, but since he is listening, we'll just say, sure, why not? Anyway,
Oh my gosh.
Oh man.
Hey, nobody will know what it's. Nobody knows. Nobody.
I mean, what about no one remembers the Armenians, right?
Oh.
Uh-oh.
That got pretty dark.
Yeah, because that's what the question's about, Cody.
Well, I'm not gonna say the question out loud. Actually, on a completely unrelated note, my friend visited Auschwitz today, so that was depressing. That's not even a joke. Like he's on he was sent to Latvia, and he's at Latvia right now, and he's on like a trip around Eastern Europe, and so he went to Poland. And yesterday it was hilarious because he sent me a thing that he was like in Warsaw, and it was like a super happy fun time. And then the next day he just sends me pictures from Auschwitz, and I said, "Why are you spending your weekend off in Auschwitz?" And that was a whole fun thing that happened.
I mean, I do want to visit that sometime in my life. Just
It's depressing.
Yeah, it's depressing, but there's something about like like seeing something in person like really like hits you home.
Oh yeah, I'd see it too, but ugh.
I mean, granted, like if it's like, hey, you could have your dream vacation to any historical site in the world. I mean, Auschwitz wouldn't be my first choice because I'd want to have a happy vacation. But I mean, I'd still want to visit it at some point in my life.
That'd be very concerning if it was like, where do you want to go to, little Billy?
I want to go to Auschwitz.
How about you just
And
stay
Billy
on the
grew up
court?
to become Newt Gingrich.
Ouch.
Oh.
Oh.
He actually did do that thing where he took a picture from it.
Wait, he did what?
There's this like this really weird thing where Newt Gingrich took like a picture from Auschwitz where like it's in front of the Art Bat Mac Frey sign, but he's like smiling like it's just like a regular vacation photo.
Wow, that's weird. There's been a lot of weird. No, that we're not talking about Auschwitz. I don't want to talk about Auschwitz. Anyway,
Yeah, that's true.
what a great fun time.
What an advertiser-friendly conversation.
Oh no! I just realized that. I don't know.
Oh wow.
Everybody in the super chat is asking questions that it's like, how do we respond to that? How do we?
Alternate history: Australia Eureka Rebellion, 3 December 1850 at Ballarat in Victoria.
So that happened. Podcast reserves the right to not answer super chat questions that do not have any class and or taste.
How do we?
Make sense?
How do we do that? Like, I don't. People, if you're gonna ask questions in the super chat, have them be English. It will help.
And like legit question,
like a question that has like a subject and a
we'll have like 90% of the time we'll answer it maybe.
Yeah.
What? Okay. Kaiserreich Empire of Ohio asks, what if we ruled Ohio together? Then we'd have the best darn state in the Midwest, buddy. Oh,
go Buckeyes!
Boy. Go Buckeyes! Brutus.
And then the very bitter John Kasich secretly organizes a coup against Cody.
Man, I forgot.
Oh my God, the Kasich revolution against Cody's imperial authority. Now that's the alternate history. I know that people write these fan fictions for some reason. And that's the fan that needs to be written next.
Is it sad that I live in this state and I forgot that Kasich existed? I actually
he ran for. Well, he ate his way through primaries for you.
He did.
Hey, he was second place.
He was the least.
He went through the primaries like Pac-Man goes through pellets.
Okay, he was my favorite.
He wasn't second place. He was only second place once he was the last two people left.
Kasich was actually my favorite. I was rooting for him.
I'll admit, yeah, I was kind of hoping he would be their choice too.
But alas, oh well. Hey, yes. That'd be an alternate
Instead,
timeline.
we're living in the dystopian timeline.
What if Kasich won? That'd be a thing.
We'd surprisingly be a bit more jollier.
I'm Ted Cruz!
Oh gosh, that's even worse.
It's not a lot of questions. Not a lot of people are asking questions. Or flying.
Melted blobfish.
Oh! Somebody has one. Lion the person asks, have any of you done Model UN? Thoughts on it?
Yes, I have done.
Oh yeah, we have. Oh boy.
I haven't.
I did it literally once in 6th grade. I was playing as Belgium, and the topic was of like Israel-Palestine relations. And because I was a dumb 6th grader who, I mean, like I knew history and geopolitics and stuff like that, but obviously I didn't think very straight. And so since I still loved maps way back in 6th grade, literally all I did was I drew a map of Israel, and I literally just like drew a line down the middle, and I gave one half to Israel and one half to Palestine. And I just went up and I'm like, hey guys, look, this is like 50% for each side. So everyone wins, right? And because we're all 6th graders, everyone's like, yeah. And so they vote for it unanimously. And it's like, yeah, we just solved the biggest geopolitical crisis.
High five.
You did it. Who knew? All it took was.
Could have known that just splitting it in half was the solution.
And that's why Model UN is not very effective for middle schoolers, because they don't know enough and or don't care enough to try to think of serious solutions.
Model UN is not efficient for anything, because when I did Model UN, it was senior year, last days of high school, and this was when the Syrian civil war was first breaking out. So that was our main issue for the semester, was what to do about Syria, which, oh boy.
What?
Anyway, we had, I was America, one of my friends was Britain, and it just so happened that every single person who I was friends with in the class was, on, like, the West NATO side. And I was friends with people who were on the other side, but like not as much. But anyway, all of my friends decided we would just be assholes. So what we did is we made the Anglo Alliance, and we were basically the psychos of the world. And we were so crazy, we wanted to just bomb and destroy everything, like nuke everything. And it was in like the team. Our model of everything was Team America World Police. So I would always come in every day, and we had these little tiny flags that would be on our thing. I said fuck that. I brought in a giant big American flag and I would drape it over my table. And I would wear like stereotypical American shirts every single day for a month until I graduated. And one had like a bald eagle, another had like the raising the flag on Iwo Jima. There was like one that just was George Washington's face, and I was the most bombastic, loudmouth person in the entire UN, and I would have every single time there would be debates on what to do with Syria. Our model was we nuke it. We don't invade Syria. We just glass the entire country. And the people that were against us was Russia and China, and they were basically saying no, you can't glass Syria, and and our basic whole argument was that we're the United States, and we have like Coca-Cola, and we have all this great stuff, and I'm not going to explain how we did it. I'm not going to explain how we did it because it's a little bit fuzzy. The whole thing's a blur for me. And we pretty much just were so loud and kind of funny that the rest of the whole class agreed with us. And in the end, the final thing, the final resolution for the UN was a complete nuclear bombardment of Syria. And then the United States would get any oil that was left. And Russia and China lost. And that was how our UN thing. So the lesson here is don't have seniors do model UN, because their entire philosophy for everything is just military destroy it.
All right, Russia and China, we know you're upset that we decided to nuke Syria. So why don't we compromise here? Russia, you can nuke Estonia, I guess, and China, you can nuke Taiwan. That way, it's all even. How does that sound? Oh,
Man.
this was like a great idea.
We had to bring in food from our respective country, and I just brought in McDonald's that I got like 15 minutes before. And I said, this is,
God.
and I basically talked about it like it was this exquisite cuisine. And I said, this is a McChicken. This is something
That is like the most high school thing you could possibly.
Yeah, it was. It was the most high school thing possible. So many people put so much effort into their stuff, but and the thing was, I got an A in that class. Like, it wasn't like I failed that class. I like ran the entire thing, and it was great. But what was it? Yeah, Model UN. I know. Izzy, my girlfriend, was in another class. And she was Switzerland, but the person that there's this guy. He was basically the what I would call he was pretty much the embodiment of what I imagined my community. Like, he was pretty much obsessed with World War II. He was like he literally wore like a Prussian helmet like Tiger Star did, and his name was Thor.
Nice.
And his entire philosophy was to salt the earth. And I forgot what was the political thing. I think it was talking about, oh, their thing was children in Africa. Like I think it was like child soldiers in Africa, and that was the UN thing. And Thor's entire philosophy was to just orbital bombard Africa and salt the earth. And that ended up being the thing that the UN did, and it solved the problem. It solved the child soldier problem. Everyone died. So that was a funny. I don't know. I found it funny.
Oh, jeez.
It was funny.
The only UN thing I went to an information session for Model UN when I was at undergrad at Bishop's. It was fun, but then I was like, this is like way too much for what I was doing, so I didn't do it. But then I was a friend with somebody who was doing it, and they got Mexico, and so I knew a bunch about Mexico, and I helped them out. But one of the things that happened is that in my last year at Bishop's, we had a history professor who was teaching like the global history course and was doing World War One, and his whole thing was like he really liked international conferences and wanted to like do simulations of them as like he wanted to do the course as a series of simulations of big times when the whole world got together to solve a problem. And so I got called in because for the bigger countries, he wanted to get like upper year students, and I was like in student government. I was a big person on campus at that time anyway. I was big in the history community.
Mr. Popular here.
The school has less than 3,000 students, so it's not hard. But anyways,
better than me.
so when I went, I got to be in the 1919 convention, France. So I got to do the Paris Peace Conference as Paris. That was fun.
Nice.
But he didn't let us have fun. Like, I'm gonna give you guys this document, and like, you guys studied World War One. Like, you have to have the interests of your country and do the things that they want, and let the other people try to like negotiate because they're like small countries, etc.
Yeah.
All right, guys. America is joining the League of Nations. No, you're supposed to do what your country wants. No. We are going to correct our ancestors' mistakes. America is joining the League of Nations. Yeah.
Well, I mean, America was like gung ho for the League of Nations, and
Tiger Star, did you realize your stereotypical American impression is literally just your impression of me whenever you do an impression of me? They're the same freaking accent.
Hey guys,
are you trying to say something?
No.
Hey guys, I'm an American. This is Cody from the Alternate History Hub.
That was not my impression of you by a long shot.
Oh, really? What's your impression of me then?
I don't know. I don't think I've ever tried.
You've done
not seriously. Like, I don't think I've ever seriously like tried to like. I'm gonna like really try to imitate Cody. I'm not sure how I'd go about it.
I'm gonna nail it.
Hi, I'm Cody. This has been Cody from the Alternate History Hub. I always think of like the guy saying, "This is CNN."
My voice isn't that deep.
Yeah, see, it's not that deep.
Yeah, you liar.
How
dare you?
It's probably just because I have like a super high pitched voice.
I mean, I don't know what it is. Sometimes my voice is deeper and sometimes it's higher pitch. I think it's mostly when I'm like tired. My voice, I kind of give up and it just kind of becomes whatever.
Well, you told me once that you do like your deep apocalypse voice when you're narrating your videos.
Yeah, but it's not like all I do is just like put my voice closer to the mic. Like, it's not like, Anyway,
I think that's that.
No, that's
not. 10.
That's actually not. That's actually not that, because we have a few super chat things and then we'll get done.
All right.
What? So fuck South Dakota. North Dakota is best. Dakota asks, what if North Dakota killed South Dakota, then left the U.S. and used the nuclear weapons North Dakota had back in the days and take over Canada and the rest of the U.S. and breathe? What do you think would have happened?
Okay, so go over that again. North Dakota did what to South Dakota?
It just says defeated.
Do I need to just read this
No,
again?
No, you don't need to.
Okay, I'll say
it turns into a Dakotan empire run by Dakota Fanning.
Yeah, I'll say basically the jackalopes rise up and they win.
Rise up.
They just win. That's all they do. This is why the super chat idea was a horrible idea. It was
hey, no, it's okay.
It was.
We get rewarded for it.
Pays the bills.
Yes.
Anyway,
and thanks to the super chat money, we can open up a second location in downtown Los Angeles.
Why do I do this with you guys? Why do I?
We'll have So That Happened Con.
Yeah, it'll be full like 3 people at the airport Hilton. They just be like,
And you can like buy in our gift shop like bobbleheads of all three of us, and we specifically make Tristan's look like how South Park depicts Canadians.
Oh, fun.
we should, and then yeah, buy So That Happened merchandise, even though I don't, it doesn't exist, and I'll never make
It doesn't exist, but buy it.
Yeah, buy it anyway. Just make your own counterfeit merchandise. It'll be great. Then we won't have to actually do anything. Um, what's it called? We got more. Yippee. Uh, Connor Lonergan says, "What if Wakanda was actually real?"
That would be awesome then.
I think this sounds like he's one of those guys who's overreacting to the movie.
If Wakanda was actually real, I guess they'd have magical fake metal, and
Yay.
it would
And then
be
like
bad.
all the Marvel fanboys would like kill
I mean,
to
I
like
don't know if-
secretly obtain that metal so they can make their own like legit
I mean,
Captain
I can't
America
even, like- I
shields
can't
and
even
be the
answer
biggest
this-
fanboys ever.
I can't even really answer this question because it's like that's the point of the Black Panther movie is what does Wakanda do? So
Yeah, go watch Black Panther, and that's the answer to your question.
there you go, and it'll be as realistic as Wakanda actually existing because it's a fake country. Who knows? It's
We
like,
get it, Ben.
yeah, man, not very good questions. So you're fans, you disappoint me.
Oh,
Y'all disappoint me. You didn't ask the hard ones, the hard questions, the ones that, you know. Oh, man, maybe we should really resolve this before it ends.
Before things go to hand.
Yeah.
Hey,
Okay, last
yeah.
one. Very last one. In your eyes, in an alternate history, is there any way for Australia to fight for its independence? No! It's going up against Britain. Why would it?
Yeah.
It would never
no,
win.
no. Hear me out here.
They have sheep.
You
No.
can, you can even you can even make a movie out of this. So
Yeah.
in the early stages of the colony, as like they're dropping off all the prisoners realize that they outnumber the British soldiers. So there's a giant continent-wide prison riot, and they completely take over Australia and declare independence.
You know what? I agree with you. I agree with. Yep, that's the way. That's how Australia becomes independent. Is it's just one big criminal land, and there.
It becomes like the Mos Eisley of the world. It'd be pretty sweet.
That's your resolution, man. I'm so tired.
Cody, you sound like you're melting down.
I'm like, just I want it all to end. Everything, all of it, just nuke.
Just
me.
be sure to upload part 1 before you do it.
You know,
Be
you
sure to like, share, and subscribe to the Alternate History Hub and Emperor Tiger Star and Step Back History.
even though completely giving up on life, it's great. No, but anyway, actually, in all seriousness, thank you everybody for doing this. We want to thank the people that actually contributed, who was Bruno Scudin, Telegaeus Pompadourus. Oh my God, can you people please have shorter names? Professor Mateus Barbado, Silent Tremor, South Dakota Guy, Moad Khalif, Chad Stewart, Eric Dennis Brady, Hancock, Lavender Clamp 24, Red Eagle 257, Kagio, Sarah Jackson, Fibno, Church Nexus 26, Justice McGinnis, Ethan Goldstein, Connor Lonergan, Church Nexus 26 again, and Sync 98. Thank you all for your contribution. Thank everybody for sticking around for 2 hours.
And thank you from
listening.
those viewers like you.
Listen,
Special shout out if you guys like our stuff, you'll actually really like Kagito. So I do recommend that channel.
Yeah. So thanks everybody for sticking around for 2 hours listening to just randomly babble. It's fantastic. Anyway, I'm Cody.
I'm Emperor Tiger Star.
And I'm Tristan from Step Back History. StepBackHistory.com.
And this is the So That Happened podcast. Man, I wish a nuke would land on my face.